Sundays on the Hill, you've got James Clyburn, one of the president's big and key supporters, the man who put him over in South Carolina and gave him the chance in 2020 to be the Democratic nominee. There is a active push by the administration and by Joe Biden's advisors and surrogates to make the comparison of Ronald Reagan 1984 and Joe Biden 2024. What is the logic behind setting the expectations that high?
So Ronald Reagan did something that Joe Biden was not willing to do, which is Ronald Reagan was willing to crash the economy hard. And the reason that the Republicans got pummeled so badly in the 1982 midterms was that Ronald Reagan, with the help of Paul Volcker at the Federal Reserve, said, we're going down, baby. We have to beat inflation, because inflation had plagued every presidency since Lyndon Johnson. And Ronald Reagan said, for this to work, we're going to have to break the back of inflation. And, you know, you were talking about those jobs numbers before. The economy is good, but prices are high. And what Reagan did was say, we're going to have to drive this bus off the cliff, and then we're going to start over. And what he did was oversaw, with a huge tax cut, this massive improvement in the economy, so that by 2 years later, he was hugely popular. Biden did not do that. In fact, he did the other thing. He said, we're going to have a little more inflation. We're going to do a little more spending. We're going to do a little bit more right now. And then we're going to come in for a soft landing. And they kept saying soft landing. Well, the landing hasn't been soft enough, and voters feel it.
You think about history, how we think about Ronald Reagan in history, and you make the point that he was out of office when the effects of those tax cuts and of beating inflation came in and ended up crushing George H.W. Bush, who got blamed for the economy. How long is it going to be? And I think maybe this is a point that you're going to hear from James Clyburn, that we have to wait to figure out 40 years whether Biden's speech at Pointe Du Hoc now is going to be looked back on in the same way Reagan's speech was then.
Oh, well, it won't. But the thing about Biden is he knows what he wants to be. And it's not just a function of his age, though that is a contributing factor. Joe Biden has never been the politician that he wanted to be. And not to bring up old stuff, but you could go all the way back to lifting lines from Neil Kinnock in his 1988 presidential run. Joe Biden knows this Kennedy-esque, ennobling figure that he wants to be, but that's not who Joe Biden is. Joe Biden is, and I say this with real appreciation for hack Pauls, he's a hack Paul. He's a glad hand. He's a backslapper guy. He's a coalitional guy. He's a party man. And what Reagan was, what Kennedy, to whom Biden owes so much appreciation, is they were transformational figures. They had appeal to other people. And the thing about Reagan, and Biden does have some of this, the thing about Reagan is he was a peach. He was just the nicest, and people wanted to hate him. They wanted to get mad at him, and they couldn't do it. He was as sweet as a blueberry jelly belly, and they couldn't quite get there to make him a villain. And Biden has some of that, right? Biden is a sweet guy. He does have this sympathetic component. He does have the love story with his wife. He has a lot of these
dedication to his son, yeah.
But he also, and this is something that Biden struggles with, and this is what we're going to see when he debates Donald Trump, he's mean, too. He gets mad. He has trouble controlling his temper, and that's a thing that keeps him short of his goal.
All right. I was now taken instantly back to the blueberry jelly belly, which is where my mind
So that means you're going for that. If that hadn't been mauled.
I'm going for creme brulee.
You're going creme brulee?
Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Have a great show this Sunday. Chris Stirewalt, thank you very much. Tomorrow night, a lot of what you just heard from Chris Stirewalt about Ronald Reagan will be on display. Reagan, Portrait of a Presidency, the 40th president in his own words. And then we'll be back with the post show afterwards, 9 p.m. Central.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.